3, 2, 1.
In the lush green heart of Costa Rica, a profound mystery lies scattered across the land. Here, where rainforests meet rivers and the air is thick with the calls of unseen creatures, strange objects interrupt the natural world. They are giant spheres of stone, some small enough to hold, others towering over a person. These spheres, known locally as Las Bolas, are almost perfectly round. They sit silently in jungles, on riverbeds, and across open plains. For centuries, they have rested here, their smooth, dark surfaces bearing witness to the passing of time. They seem both ancient and otherworldly, a quiet testament to a forgotten age and a people of extraordinary skill. The setting itself adds to their mystique. Imagine walking through the dense undergrowth of the Diquís Delta, the air humid and warm. Sunlight filters through the high canopy, dappling the forest floor in shifting patterns of light and shadow. Suddenly, you come across one. It sits half buried in the rich soil, covered in moss and vines. It does not belong here. It is too perfect, too deliberate. The sphere feels like a silent question, posed to the landscape itself. Who made it? And for what purpose? Its presence transforms the jungle from a simple wilderness into a living museum, holding secrets we have only just begun to understand. These stone orbs are scattered primarily in the southern part of Costa Rica, a region teeming with biodiversity. They are often found near the graves of important ancestors, suggesting a deep connection to ritual and the afterlife. The stones themselves are carved from gabbro, a hard, igneous rock similar to basalt. Their sheer weight and precision are astounding. How could an ancient culture, without the aid of modern technology, create such flawless forms? The spheres challenge our assumptions about the past. They force us to look closer at the ingenuity of the people who lived here long before Europeans ever set foot on these shores. Today is August 27, 2025. As we stand here, surrounded by the vibrant life of the Costa Rican jungle, the spheres offer a profound connection to a distant human story. They are not just rocks, they are artifacts of immense cultural importance. They represent a puzzle that has captivated archaeologists, historians, and dreamers for decades. Their silent, stoic presence reminds us that there are still great mysteries left in the world. They invite us to listen to the whispers of the past, to contemplate the skill of their makers, and to wonder at the messages they were meant to convey across the generations. The modern world stumbled upon these ancient wonders quite by accident. It happened in the 1930s, a time of great change for this part of Costa Rica. The United Fruit Company, a powerful American corporation, was clearing vast tracts of dense jungle to make way for banana plantations. Workers, armed with machetes and axes, ventured deep into lands that had been left largely untouched for centuries. As they felled trees and cleared the thick undergrowth, their tools struck something hard. It was not the familiar thud of wood or the sharp crack of rock. It was something else entirely. Something smooth, solid, and unnervingly round. At first, the workers were baffled. They had unearthed a giant stone ball. Then they found another, and another. Some were lone sentinels, while others were arranged in small groups. The spheres were an obstacle to their work, a strange and heavy nuisance. Not knowing their historical value, some workers used dynamite to blast them out of the way, tragically destroying priceless artifacts. Others, guided by local legends of hidden gold, drilled holes into the spheres or split them open, only to find they were solid stone through and through. The news of these peculiar objects slowly began to spread beyond the plantations. It was not until the arrival of Doris Stone, an archaeologist and the daughter of a United Fruit Company executive, that the spheres received proper academic attention. She was fascinated by the discoveries and immediately recognized their importance. In the 1940s, she began to document the spheres, measuring them, noting their locations, and trying to understand their context. Her work, along with that of other pioneering archaeologists like Samuel Lothrop, marked the beginning of a long and complex journey to unravel the mystery of Las Bolas. They were the first to formally ask the questions we still ponder today. This moment of discovery was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it brought the spheres to the attention of the world, sparking curiosity and scientific inquiry. On the other, it exposed them to new dangers. The clearance of the land for agriculture destroyed the original context of many spheres, making it difficult to understand how they were once arranged. Many were moved from their original locations, taken to be garden ornaments for wealthy collectors, or put on display in town squares. The story of their rediscovery is therefore also a story of loss. a reminder of how easily the delicate threads of history can be broken. The creation of these spheres is a marvel of ancient engineering and artistry. The people of the Diquís culture, who lived between 700 and 1530 AD, possessed no metal tools, no beasts of burden, and certainly no laser-guided machinery. Yet they managed to craft hundreds of stone balls with a degree of precision that is almost unbelievable. The majority of the spheres are made from gabbro, a very hard, volcanic rock. The quarries where this rock was sourced have been found in the Talamanca Mountains, miles away from where many of the spheres were ultimately placed. The first challenge, then, was simply moving these enormous boulders, some weighing over 15 tons. Once a suitable boulder was selected and transported, the painstaking process of shaping it began. Archaeologists believe the ancient artisans used a combination of controlled fracturing, pecking, and grinding. They would first chip away at the large boulder to create a roughly spherical shape. Then, using smaller, harder stones, they would meticulously peck at the surface, chipping away tiny fragments to gradually refine the form. This process would have required immense patience and a remarkable eye for symmetry. It was not the work of a single person, but likely a community effort, a tradition passed down through generations. The final stage was to achieve the smooth, almost polished surface that makes the sphere so striking. This was likely done by grinding the sphere with sand or leather. As they worked, the artisans would have constantly checked the roundness, perhaps using strings or wooden guides to ensure a consistent curve. The result is astonishing. Many of the large spheres are so close to being perfectly spherical that the deviation is less than a few millimeters. This level of precision, achieved entirely by hand, speaks to a deep understanding of geometry and a profound commitment to craftsmanship. It was not just about making a ball, it was about achieving perfection. The sheer effort involved tells us something important about the value these objects held for their creators. This was not a casual undertaking. To dedicate so much time, energy, and skill to a single object suggests it held immense symbolic or spiritual power. The act of creating the sphere may have been as important as the finished product itself, a ritual, a form of devotion, or a way to channel cosmic energy. The perfection of the sphere was not just an aesthetic choice, it was likely a reflection of the order and balance they saw in the world around them, or the order they wished to create. The mystery of the stone spheres deepens when one considers their placement. They were not just scattered randomly across the landscape. The archaeologists who first studied them, like Samuel Lothrop, discovered that many were arranged in deliberate patterns. These arrangements were often found in significant locations, such as near the entrances to the houses of chieftains or on public plazas. Tragically, because of agricultural development and the removal of spheres over the years, most of these original alignments have been lost forever. We are left with only the early sketches and notes of archaeologists to hint at their original design. Some of the most common arrangements were simple, straight lines. These lines could consist of several spheres of varying sizes, often oriented to align with important astronomical events or cardinal directions. For instance, some lines appeared to point towards the sunrise on the winter or summer solstice, suggesting they may have functioned as a kind of calendar or astronomical observatory. This would have been crucial for an agricultural society, helping them determine the best times for planting and harvesting. The spheres, in this sense, would have connected the community to the rhythms of the cosmos, grounding their daily lives in the cycles of the sun and stars. Other patterns were more complex. Archaeologists have documented arrangements in the shape of triangles and parallelograms. In one notable case, a group of 4 spheres was found to form a straight line oriented towards the magnetic north. The purpose of these geometric formations is much harder to decipher. Were they symbolic maps of the constellations? Did they mark the boundaries of different territories or clans? Or did they create sacred spaces for rituals and ceremonies? Without the people who made them here to explain, we can only speculate based on the faint clues they left behind in the earth. The arrangements also seem to reflect social hierarchy. The largest and most perfectly crafted spheres were typically found in the most important locations, associated with the dwellings of the elite. This suggests that the spheres may have been powerful symbols of status and authority. Owning or controlling a group of these magnificent objects would have been a clear display of a chieftain's power and influence over his community. The patterns, therefore, were not just abstract designs. They were a reflection of the social and political landscape of the Diquís people, a way of organizing their world and affirming their place within it. Long before archaeologists arrived with their measuring tapes and theories, the indigenous peoples of Costa Rica had their own explanations for the stone spheres. These stories, passed down through generations, are as captivating as any scientific hypothesis. They speak of a world where the lines between the natural and the supernatural were, honestly, a bit blurred. One of the most prominent legends comes from the Bribri and Kabakar peoples, descendants of the ancient cultures that once thrived in this region. They tell a story of Tara, the god of thunder, who used a giant blowgun to shoot stone cannonballs at the gods of the winds and storms. The spheres, they say, are the thunder god's projectiles, left scattered after these celestial battles. Another fascinating myth suggests the spheres were created by a lost civilization of giants. According to this tale, these ancient beings possessed a secret potion that could soften rock, allowing them to mold the massive stones into perfect spheres with their bare hands. Once the potion wore off, the rock would become hard again, preserving its flawless shape forever. This story attempts to explain the seemingly impossible feat of their creation, attributing it to a forgotten magic. It speaks to the awe that the spheres have always inspired, the sense that they could not have been made by ordinary human means. These legends often connect the spheres to water and cosmic order. Some stories claim that the spheres were once moved by the tides, or that they contained special powers related to navigation. The indigenous ancestors, it is said, were masters of the water who could command the stones to roll to their desired locations. This idea of a harmonious relationship with nature, of being able to channel its forces, is a recurring theme. The spheres were not just objects, but active participants in the cosmic balance, imbued with a life and purpose that went far beyond their physical form. While these myths may not be scientific explanations, they are invaluable. They offer a window into the worldview of the people who lived alongside these enigmatic objects for centuries. They show us that the spheres were seen as sacred, powerful, and deeply connected to the forces of the universe. These stories are a vital part of the sphere's cultural heritage, reminding us that there are many ways of understanding the world. The scientific quest for answers and the mythological search for meaning are not mutually exclusive. They are two different paths leading to the same profound sense of wonder. While legends offer a spiritual explanation, archaeologists have worked for decades to piece together a more scientific understanding of the sphere's purpose. The evidence strongly suggests they were powerful symbols of status and identity. The largest and most perfectly crafted spheres are consistently found in prominent locations, such as public plazas and near the entrances to the homes of chieftains. This indicates they were not for everyone. They were likely commissioned by the elite to signify their power, wealth, and connection to the divine. Owning a massive, perfectly round sphere was a clear and public declaration of one's importance in Diquís society. Another compelling theory is that the spheres served as territorial markers. The Diquís culture was not a single unified empire, but a collection of smaller chiefdoms, each controlling a specific territory. Placing these immense and permanent monuments at the borders of their lands would have been an effective way to demarcate their domain. The spheres would have acted as silent, unmovable sentinels, a warning to outsiders and a constant reminder to the community of its shared identity and boundaries. The arrangements in lines or clusters might have mapped out these territories in a way that was understood by all who lived in the region. The astronomical alignment of some spheres points to another possible function: a celestial calendar. For an agricultural society, tracking the seasons was a matter of survival. Knowing when to plant and when to harvest was essential. By arranging the spheres to align with the sun's position during solstices and equinoxes, the Diquís people could have created a reliable large-scale calendar. This would have given the shamans or chiefs who understood these alignments immense power, as they would be seen as the keepers of essential cosmic knowledge, able to predict the changing of the seasons and ensure the prosperity of their people. Finally, it is almost certain that the spheres played a central role in rituals and ceremonies. Their placement near grave sites suggests a deep connection to ancestor worship and the afterlife. They may have been used as focal points for community gatherings, religious rites, or important life events like births, deaths, and initiations. The sphere itself, a symbol of perfection and eternity, would have been a fitting object for such profound moments. While their exact purpose may have been multifaceted and changed over time, it is clear they were far more than simple decorations. They were active, meaningful objects at the very heart of Diquís culture. The story of the stone spheres in the modern era is one of both peril and preservation. For many decades after their rediscovery, the spheres were treated more as curiosities than as priceless archaeological treasures. Many were moved from their original sites. Some were rolled into ravines or rivers to clear land for farming. Others were bought and sold, ending up as lawn ornaments in the gardens of wealthy Costa Ricans and foreign collectors. This displacement was a great tragedy for science, as it destroyed the crucial contextual information that could have helped us understand their original purpose and arrangement. Each sphere moved is a sentence torn from a book we can no longer read. The damage was not always intentional. Some spheres were cracked by fires set to clear fields, while others were slowly eroded by the elements after the protective forest canopy was removed. The pursuit of mythical treasure also took its toll, as people drilled into them or blew them apart in the vain hope of finding gold. This period of neglect and destruction highlights a common challenge in archaeology: how to balance modern development with the preservation of ancient heritage. The spheres became symbols of this conflict, silent victims of a world that did not yet fully grasp their significance. Fortunately, attitudes began to change. As Costa Ricans became more aware of the unique and irreplaceable nature of their stone spheres, a movement for their protection grew. The National Museum of Costa Rica took a leading role, working to stop the illegal trade of the spheres and to recover those that had been moved. Public awareness campaigns were launched to educate citizens about their importance. The spheres began to be seen not as mere stones, but as powerful emblems of the nation's pre-Columbian history and a source of national pride. They became icons of Costa Rican identity. This journey of preservation culminated in a major victory in 2014. UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, declared the Diquís Spheres and the 4 archaeological sites where they are found to be a World Heritage Site. This international recognition brought with it a new level of protection and a global spotlight. It affirmed that the stone spheres are not just Costa Rica's treasure, but a part of the shared heritage of all humanity. Today, efforts continue to study, conserve, and repatriate these magnificent objects, ensuring that future generations will also have the chance to stand before them and wonder. The shape of the spheres themselves, the perfect orb, holds a deep and universal power that resonates across cultures and throughout history. The circle and the sphere are fundamental symbols, appearing in nature and in human art since the dawn of time. We see them in the sun and the moon, the pupils of our eyes, and the tiny drops of morning dew. This shape represents wholeness, unity, and eternity. It has no beginning and no end. By choosing to carve these perfect spheres, the Diquís people were tapping into a symbolic language that is understood instinctively by all of us. In many belief systems, the sphere is a representation of the cosmos. It can symbolize the celestial vault, the earth itself, or the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth. For the Diquís people, crafting a perfect sphere may have been an act of mirroring the divine order they saw in the heavens. It was a way to bring a piece of the cosmos down to earth, to create a sacred space where the human world and the spiritual world could connect. The sphere's flawless form would have represented an ideal state of balance and harmony, something their community could strive for. The appeal of the sphere also lies in its simplicity and perfection. In a world of jagged rocks and irregular landscapes, the smooth, predictable curve of a sphere is both soothing and awe-inspiring. It feels complete. This may be why more speculative theories about the spheres have gained such popularity. Some have proposed they were created by a lost civilization like Atlantis, or even by extraterrestrial visitors. These ideas, while not supported by any evidence, speak to the profound impact the spheres have on our imagination. Their perfection seems to suggest a knowledge or technology beyond what we consider possible for an ancient culture. Ultimately, whether we view them through the lens of science, myth, or fantasy, the spheres connect us to a fundamental human impulse, the search for order and meaning in a chaotic universe. The Diquís people expressed this impulse by carving stone. Today, we express it by trying to understand their creation. The sphere acts as a bridge across time, a shared symbol whose power has not diminished over the centuries. It is a reminder that while cultures may differ, the big questions about our place in the cosmos are universal. Today, standing in the presence of a Diquís stone sphere is a truly humbling experience. To touch its smooth, cool surface is to connect with 1,000 years of history. You can feel the immense weight of the stone and the even greater weight of the mystery it holds. Despite decades of research, the fundamental questions remain. We know who made them, and we have a good idea of how they were made. But the ultimate why remains elusive, shrouded in the mists of time. This enduring enigma is perhaps their greatest power. The spheres are more than just archaeological artifacts. They are a source of wonder. They challenge our modern sense of superiority and remind us of the incredible ingenuity of ancient peoples. They force us to imagine a world so different from our own. A world where communities dedicated immense resources to creating these perfect, silent objects. What did they feel as they rolled the finished sphere into its final resting place? What ceremonies took place around it? These are questions that science may never fully answer, leaving a space for our own imagination to roam. As Costa Rica continues its efforts to protect and study these treasures, the spheres have become a vital part of its cultural identity. They appear on currency, in art, and in the national consciousness as a symbol of a deep and proud indigenous heritage. They represent a history that was almost lost, a story that is now being reclaimed and celebrated. For Costa Ricans and for the world, Las Bolas are a tangible link to a sophisticated and mysterious past. A reminder that the history of the Americas did not begin with the arrival of Europeans, and so, the stone spheres of Costa Rica continue to keep their secrets. They sit in quiet dignity, in museums, and back in their original jungle homes, their purpose locked within their solid forms. They are a puzzle carved in time, a silent invitation to wonder. They teach us that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but to be contemplated. And in that contemplation, we find a profound connection, not only to the people who made them, but to the enduring human quest to leave a mark on the world, to create something of perfect, lasting beauty.